Hi, it's Wayne from howtofish.com.au, and this morning I'm going to go down to the Yarra River near my house, my local waterway, and I'm going to use a couple of different techniques fishing down there. One thing I'm going to do is use worms for bait, pretty standard, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach them I'm going to attach them to the hook, but I'm not going to put them on the hook. I'm actually going to use some line tied to the hook to tie the worms on. I'm told that gives them a much better hook hold for the fish that take them. The other thing that I'm going to use is my Blood and Guts berley pellets. Now these are a prototype pellet that I've been working on for a while, and they seem to be doing a really great job. I've used them in salt water quite a bit. That's worked really well. I want to see how they go now in fresh water. The first thing I do when I get down to the water is berley up, even before I set up my rods. That way I know that while I'm taking the time to hook up and put my bait on, the berley's attracting those fish in. I'm not going to fish far out, so it's an easy throw, underarm throw with this berley to do its work while I set up. The spot I was fishing was only a couple of rod lengths out. There was a slow patch of water outside the main stream, and that's where the fish liked to hold. And I knew that even though it wasn't deep, the fish would come around if they could smell food. This time I'm trying something a little bit different. I've actually got the worms on there, but they're not on the hook. They're actually tied below the hook, just to see if I can get something to come over and engulf everything. I was pretty surprised. Within about 10 minutes, I had the first fish hook up, and it went directly into the main flow of the river, as they often do. Challenge being here, of course, is just trying to keep it out of the snags. When you're fishing at range, there's not a lot you can do to control the fish. All you can do is put enough pressure on it to try and pull it in towards you, but you also then have to manage the strength of the line and how much pressure you can put on it. So it was a combination of using the drag, stretch in the line, and the rod, keeping that high to try and pull it away from the snags on either side. The only time it really makes me nervous is when the fish actually rolls over the top of the line and its fins hit the line or its body hits the line. That might pull the hook. Or like it did here, which is travel towards the snags, which means you've got to sort of pull it pretty hard just to get it away from the big logs and stuff that they can work themselves around. Always pretty good fun doing this, and you know, they're underrated as a fighting fish. I really find that if you get a decent size carp, they will work themselves into all of the nooks and crannies in the water. They are large enough to create a lot of resistance. It's a lot of fun. After a bit of back and forward, I managed to get it in close enough to try and net it. That's always a dangerous period, of course, because you've got less stretch in your line at that point. So you, if it does surge off, it could be the time that it either breaks your line or pulls the hook. And also, once they see the net, they often try and get away. They try and surge off. But I got it in, and you can see that the net was pretty much full of fish. One of the most picturesque things about these waterways is early mornings, where, especially in summer, where there's a big difference between the water temperature and the outside air temperature first thing that day. It creates this mist on the water, and when the sun hits it, it looks fantastic. I'd taken a video of this a few days beforehand because I was just amazed at how thick the mist was and how beautiful the setting was. Go into the snag for sure. Got to get him out. As you can see, with this next fish, I was really into a fight as well. It took me by surprise. I didn't have a chance to take the bells off my rod, and I hate that noise that they make when you're trying to fight a fish. This was pretty serious. It was taking two hands to actually draw him in. I did have slightly heavier line on this rod, thankfully. and so I really had to pull hard. The first thing it did was surge out towards the snags, and so I was really trying to pull it away from those pretty hard. Once I got it in close, it wasn't all over because he was still full of energy, and of course wrapping around my other rod. Always good fun doing this stuff. This was this was good. I knew it was bigger than the other fish, but the thing is, it put up more fight when I got in close than it did when it was further out. So this was always a bit of a challenge when you've got them in close like this. I did release the drag slightly, but because there's so many snags around, I still couldn't actually let it have its head. Also, I was trying to sort of maintain my footing and not fall in. Lift up my net, of course, and there's a stick on it, so nothing was prepared, and this guy did not want to come in. After a bit more maneuvering in close, I was able to get it into the net, and that's when I realized just how big it was. This was a pretty good fish. Oh, holy cow. I think this one's actually heavier than the other one. Have a look at this. Oh, I can't believe the size of this thing. I'll get it out of the net and show you. Well, the combination of big worms, I was using my European nightcrawler worms, and they're very, very big. The fish love those, and most Australian native fish will love those as well. Combination of using these prototype blood and guts pellets that I've just sort of thrown into the area, that's really made a difference in the attraction. And that setup of the worm tethered to the bottom, or tied to the bottom of the hook off the line there, has made a difference. So that's been really successful. Can't believe the size of those fish that I just caught. So this is a photo of both fish that I caught, just to give some scale. And just so that you understand the size of this one, it was just under 80 centimeters, and its weight was 8.5 kilograms. So if you've enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And for any of the gear, the techniques, the tactics, berley, and everything else, go to my website, howtofish.com.au. See you next time.